Okay, I call the Roslyn City Council meeting to order. It's Tuesday, April 26, 2022. The time is 4:31. We can have the flag salute, please. Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We get a roll call, please.
Councilmember Gruber?
Present.
Councilmember Weiss?
Here.
Councilmember Scheer?
Here.
Councilmember Cook? Here. Councilmember Brodeen, you just almost threw me. It's Cook in front of Brodeen, right?
Oh, we had kids.
Present. Councilmember Brodeen? Present. Councilmember Uren?
Here.
And Councilmember Adams?
Present.
And Mayor House?
Here. I've got one agenda updates. We'll put it in new business. I'm just going to ask you guys to vote on the Chief of Fire's pay raise that you guys budgeted for, but we had not given to her yet.
Okay.
So just be clean stuff, though. We just will vote on it since you're here. Even when any other agenda updates?
Can we get we want to add discussion, possible vote on property tax levy. Can we get that on there, under new business?
Okay. Anything else? Okay, then the consent agenda this evening is checks and EFTs as follows. Accounts payable in the amount of $143,012.27. ACH payables in the amount of $12,105.97. Payroll of April 16th, 2022 in the amount of $17,043.56. And then we had the meeting minutes from April 12th meeting.
Make a motion to accept the consent agenda.
Second. Any discussion here, council? All in favor of the consent agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed, say nay. Consent agenda passes. So now we'll move on to administrative reports. Sorry, my eyes are killing me. I don't think Chief's Bland on, so Chief Regan, you wanna go?
Sure. So I should be getting the final letter from the L&I claim pretty soon. They said there would be a couple fines, but I'm planning on appealing them, so they will get lowered, if not dropped, hopefully. So won't have to really worry about that. And then planning on going over Friday to check on the new engine and see what the status is on that. We have some pretty cool pictures of the build, so we'll be posting that on Facebook hopefully soon. So yeah, it's coming along.
Cool.
So yeah. Yeah, that's about it.
Still no Chief Bland. Okay, then we can just move on to the committees and commissions. You start with cemetery, Jeff?
Sure. Let's see, we have a meeting, we're gonna go through and relook at sort of plot expenses and other expenses as we seem to be quite low, considered comparable to sort of today's standards. So our group will sort of look at that and present and offer to council what they want to do with that, but we're gonna look at that. We have put the new fence for the Serbian cemetery. The posts have been installed, the bracket's been installed, and I don't know if anybody remembers, but there used to be 3 rolls of fencing of the old style wire fence that's been here to be used up at the cemetery. It finally is getting used. And 17 Serbian volunteers showed up for the church last week, and they all volunteered on the fence and cleaned up. And this is part of the expansion, of that, to squaring that up so they can buy plots if they choose to, and they're all excited. It was a good work day last weekend, and it's my brother that's actually volunteering and putting the crew together, so I want to thank my brother, Mike Adams, for that work. So he's done a good job. And then a reminder, May 14th, the annual Roslyn Historical Cemetery cleanup. So if you're not there, you're not in the right place on Saturday the 14th.
You want extra cans for that, Jeff? By the way, like we did last year.
Yeah, you know what? I'll get with you this week. By the end of the week, we'll make a little list. Is that all right?
Yep.
Okay. Thank you.
And then Janine, you want to on that?
The Planning and Historical Preservation Commission had a special meeting yesterday. The new member, Alicia Kimothy, was there. We spent 2.5 hours going over the 88 pages that we're going to go through tonight, so it might not take 2.5 hours, but it was a very thorough meeting, and well done.
I read the rundown as well.
Yeah.
And about the CSC.
No, I'm not gonna meet in May
Oh, okay.
because lack of.
Now, did the seed get figured out?
The
It's
seed's here.
arrived, yeah.
Yeah, right.
Okay, is it-
I don't know.
So I don't know the science of when we need to put it down.
Oh, right now,
Cool.
yeah, pretty
Yeah.
much. Kim pretty much organizes that, so.
Okay. All right,
Can I ask a question about the CAC real quick?
yeah.
On spraying, have we came to a plan, and
That needs to get done really quickly.
that's why I'm asking?
Yeah.
With one of the landings that have been discussed that need to be cleaned up.
No,
Well, just general spraying in the forest is something that we've been trying to find the right product, and I know there's been a lot of research in your group to try to get there.
Yeah, no, it's the weed spraying that's
Mhm.
really critical to get done right away.
We have that recommendation in our code for which one we were going to use in our parks.
It's called Milestone.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did we
and-
hire somebody for that? Is that where we're at?
Yeah, and we did talk about that like at least a month or so
Mhm.
ago.
I think even checking with the county was one of our
The
options,
other
just the
noxious
weed
weed
board,
board.
that's right.
Okay.
That, yes, we want to get.
And then Kathy too, I don't know if you mentioned it yet, I don't know if we did the council meeting, but the LSP the RFQ is out for the LSP, and it closes May 21st, I think.
Oh, great.
Really?
So, it's been out for a while.
Yeah, we've been
I
wanting
don't
to do
know
that for the past couple of years,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
It's
yeah.
due to be done.
Yeah, absolutely,
Great.
yeah, right. So that's good.
Yeah, I think it went out April 1st, so it was a full 2 months to.
Was the original author wanting to help us on
He
this?
was. He wanted to know when the RFQ came out.
Have
I
you
didn't
sent that out
realize.
to notice,
I
just because
will
he's so
see him.
familiar with it?
I
He'll
haven't
be
sent
here
it to
on
him,
Saturday.
but we will before it's, yeah.
Okay.
He's coming for a memorial on Saturday, so.
Yeah.
I'll definitely see him.
And that's until June 1st?
I think it's May 21st, I'll have to double check the date, but it's the end of May. And we've actually had a lot of interest in it, to be honest with
I
you. There's
bet.
been a lot of organizations that have contacted us. Nobody's presented anything yet, but
Okay.
a lot of requests.
Even better. Going back to cemeteries, the burn dump we're gonna open that up for the cleanup.
The past few years, we've been actually hauling out, and what we've done is, last year Brent had set me up with the cards, the 2 dump cards, and we have 2 dump trailers, and then the RDA donated $1,000 last year to cover the dump fees. And so I tracked all the dump tickets, and then as the bill came in here, we subtracted about the $1,000 donation from the RDA. I have not talked to the RDA about this yet, if they're gonna do it again, but I'll be shocked if they don't. Because that, it's a big part of the cemetery. So, the cemetery, I mean, Bubba, I'll let Bubba speak maybe to the burn dump, but we're very cautious at this point of dumping more and more over the edges as we're drawing to our boundary lines. And I think, I'll let Bubba sort of speak a little bit to him between he and his engineer team, but I think we're just trying to be sort of cautious and not,
Yeah, some of the
Overloading
stuff,
it.
yeah, we have no other place to put it, and
Mhm.
I mean, hopefully we'll be able to get rid of that brush somehow this fall. If I talk to Chris about the burning permits, when they burn the forest, he was thinking we could possibly burn that too. That's, yeah, basically we're out of room, so kinda wanna keep what we can reuse, but not just put junk there, so.
Yeah, because that's what came to thought is if we could, because now we can finally burn where we never have been able to burn
Yeah,
before.
yeah.
It'd be nice to use it for what the name of it is for.
Right.
yeah, I think the idea was, from my understanding through the public works department, was we're gonna wait and sort of see how Chris does with that permit, if it
Yeah.
comes through. And if everything goes well and it works, we'll do like a volunteer fire watch for the days it burns, which I think will be easy to fill around town for people to do a little fire watching again back there. And then once I think that happens, the idea was Bubba and I had just discussed if it becomes a frequent thing every year, then we could sort of plan sort of about how much we could do and how much we can't take. So we just don't end up with a stockpile of dead debris as a fire, as a fire hazard waiting to be burned the previous year or the following year. So I think it's getting managed pretty
Yeah,
well.
it'd be cost effective too, cause like if we had to bring a tub grinder in there, that gets
Yeah.
very expensive.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So, it'd be nice if we could burn them.
But we've got the trailers lined up today. I need to talk to staff about dump fees, and I'll organize the RDA fund if that comes through.
Okay.
And how much was the dump fee last year, you remember?
Yeah, I want to say it was like 8 something. I mean, I forgot how many. I'd be honest with you, I'd have to look. But I want to say we hauled 20 some loads. Summer pine, you get charged a little bit more because that's hazardous waste if you get into the pine needles, and then we try to separate a little bit of that to make it cheaper. But we're always willing for donations since everything's ran from volunteerism up there. So
Okay, next up will be staff, then, Bob, you wanna go?
Yeah. So we'll start out with the filter bays. We ran 2 different tests. So each filter bay can make 350 gallons a minute. So we did filter 1 first, then we did filter 2. We did 350 gallons a minute for roughly 8 to 9 hours, and we checked the weir every 2 hours. So we did another test after that. So we ran it 24 hours at 250 gallons a minute, and that's our summer average, pretty much June, July. It's like 230 to 250. August kind of goes down because the school actually quits irrigating, besides like the football field and soccer field. So talking with the engineer, the Mike that I mentioned last time that designed the plant, he was totally, comfortable with being like, hey, you guys are good to go, possibly more than a year, but we're gonna wait and just do it this fall, and then it'll give us more time since demand's going down. We'll scrape it, and then if we have to do the ripening process longer, it'll be a little safer instead of demand goes up, and then we gotta tell the school like, hey, you can't sprinkle it, So, anyways, it was cool. We learned a lot through the test. So same thing in the future. Once we scrape it, if it's 4 or 5 years down the road, we can run those same kind of tests just to kind of check it, because that's about all you can really do. And the only spike it had last year was the day we had that leak at the school, where the school had a leak, that 4-inch, and when we were actually pushing for like 8, I think it was like 7 or 8 hours, we pushed like 350 gallons a minute. But most of the average, even like in August, it drops down to like 120 to 150 gallons a minute. So, next thing, the wet side of the chlorine analyzer was updated today from PMG, so that's all done. Working great. We had the CIP Penn Place bottleneck pre-bid walkthrough, went well. We had 5 contractors that showed up for the presentation me and Hunt gave, and then we had a nice walk of the project area on the Coal Mines Trail. We read the meters first time of the year. We went a week early to kind of help Ginny out with billing so they could get out sooner. So the guys finished that up today. I called all the locates in for the CIP1, the bioswale test pits, and those will be dug on May 10th. The arrow signs came in for the pay parking. Jim hauled a couple chairs for Brenda for the library, donated by Suncadia today. RDA is doing a sidewalk cleanup April 30th downtown. So then we will sweep, with the money they gave us, we'll sweep May 6th. I'll have the sweeping company come over on that Friday and start early to get downtown cleaned up nice. This Thursday at our engineer meeting, I set up a meeting with Provac, basically to start on our I&I program. So we're gonna tell them how much money we budgeted for it, and basically we kind of have the part of town we want to start in and see how many lineal feet they can do, as far as like they'll have to go in and jet it to clean it, camera it, and they can start seeing what needs to be repaired or where our issues are. So we'll meet with them Thursday and kind of get an idea to create a plan to start with that. Also, Theo talked with Gray and Osborne. We're going to contract through them to do some fire flow testing and the modeling update, because I think the last one went until like 2023. So this will give us the information to update it for our water system plan, and also include the current water demands and available fire flow around town. It'll probably be 2 days of work, and it won't exceed $7,500. Theo talked to you, Mayor, about it. And then last thing I got, if you guys want to pass around, is some updated pictures of the pool car. Jim kind of took the lead on it, and then Kyle gave him a hand with whatever he needed. And yeah, there's a whole bunch of different pictures, actually, if you want to take them and look through.
Oh,
So yeah, it's all good. Yeah, it's like the tracks and everything. I didn't print it out for everybody.
just
That's funny.
use your imagination on the road.
Yeah, so
Yeah, I was okay with this.
yeah, so he was working on the rails and the timbers today, and then a friend of mine gave me some actual old railroad spikes from the coal mines.
Oh, yeah.
So it'll turn out pretty good. But
Cool.
so that probably in the next couple of weeks you should see out in front of
Oh,
City
great.
Hall.
Cool. Well, let me know and we can get that coal to
Yeah.
from the school.
I think we're gonna make a false bottom in it,
Yeah.
because we kind of made the bottom so it can drain with the rain and the weather, so we won't have to have like and like
And
2.5
stuff.
yards of coal.
Yeah.
I mean, like half a yard.
Plywood table for it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so
That's cool.
it should look good.
Sweet. Nice job. That's awesome.
Yeah,
That looks
that's That's all, like I said, Jim and Kyle, I just
Yeah,
delegated and got the parts they needed, so.
that's cool.
I have one question.
Oh, that's great.
The company that's contracting the bioswales, have they given any thought to changing the, I mean, we had talked about that one bioswale that's coming down Washington, where the water isn't. We know the water goes down B Street, or, you know, is on the other side. Have they given any thought to relocating that? Because I see that the pavement is painted out there.
Not that I know of yet. I marked all those locates. Michelle.
Well, they still have, yeah, they still have to come back. So remember we had talked about how we had postponed that, the surveying and the geotech work for them to come out. So when they do that, then we'll have, I mean, everything that they've done is just conceptual right now. So when they come out and have everybody come out and do their thing, then we'll be able, then they'll have a better idea of where we're going to have them versus these are excess type things. So yeah, we're just not quite there yet. But
Okay.
they're fully aware of the fact that we have concerns with that one, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Bubba.
And the benches though. Good job, Bubba. The benches look nice.
They really do.
It's like the pocket.
Tom, I'm sorry, you wanted to speak on COG? I was told that.
Yeah, there's just a few things that, of interest. And first is they announced their, the schedule for grants. Then there's gonna be somewhat north of $1 million available. Solicitation starts mid-July. And then it runs through evaluation and concludes towards the end of the year. The way it looks is, you know, given what we got last year and where they're headed to support the economic study down in Down County that's going on, there's probably not a lot of opportunity, but it's probably still a good idea to see if there's something, you know, that might fit and just put it in there, just to, you know, keep on the list, so to speak. Second thing, and I've passed that on to staff, so. And then the second thing is, Mark Cook, he noted, and anybody who's gone to our legislative group, you know, Schreier or Murray, and I know we are for earmarks, he volunteered to write letters of recommendation from COG. And I think that could be helpful, right, so that they know that local cities aren't fighting against each other for the money, that everybody's cooperating. And so, so just, you know, approach him. And the last thing is, the county volunteered that there's a joint planning process available to cover areas that are in urban growth areas but not yet annexed. And so, you know, that opportunity is available. It doesn't mean a lot for us particularly, except for the gateway, potentially for the gateway. There's a lot of pluses and minuses, but that's something to think about, whether we would like to pursue that. And that was pretty much it.
You wanna add anything to that?
No, that was what we discussed at the COG.
So is the applications for this round of funding already done, or? is it-
No, July 7th,
Oh,
July,
that's when the
mid-July.
apps come.
Yeah,
July.
that's, so he
That
called it
sounds about the
solicitation.
scheduling, yeah.
So we have some time to go through the list. And the thought occurred to me is in future years, I don't know why this occurred to me, but an item that might be good for us is one of the parking lots we were considering.
Yeah,
Because these grants are supposedly directly related to economic growth. And that seems like that would fit, so,
I'd love to go to this.
yeah.
Keep in mind, they finance CIP1 too.
We gotta own this.
Well,
part,
we
though.
only don't own it in the
Yeah,
sliver.
well, just.
I'm sure we can get an easement.
We're gonna get gifted that piece of property anyways, probably.
Oh,
Yeah, fingers crossed for sure.
And like I said, don't forget that they COG funded $800,000
Yep.
towards CIP1. So
Right.
Right.
we're spending a lot of money right now.
Right.
We have that little asks right now.
Right.
Okay.
Maybe just a little
Low
bit.
hanging, like really low hanging fruit.
And that was a big one, and that was very generous.
And are there grants matched? Then are they things that we'd have to match funding, or is there grants that aren't match funding?
Their point system prioritizes the lesser match, or the more we would match, the higher,
Right.
the more points. we
That's what I
get.
thought, okay. There's a rating.
And the more partners you've got, you know, if we get
Yeah.
Arcadia involved,
Okay,
or the two cities were to work together, those kind of things.
okay.
Or even the county for that matter.
Okay.
Any other items for staff or committees that I may have missed?
I did order 20 more signs for parking.
Yeah.
They should be here within 2 to 3 weeks. So hopefully we'll have them up in time for Memorial Day weekend and see what they can actually produce for us.
Okay, then, next up will be citizen comments. Any citizens want to speak?
Keep doing good work.
Yeah,
Yes,
go
I
ahead,
do.
just stand up and move forward. Say your name and address, please.
Carol Baxter, 311 West Utah. I'm also the property owner of 309, which is the adjacent property. I'm considering, or I'd like to get comment on putting in a sidewalk in front of those two properties and then bringing the asphalt up from the existing road up to that sidewalk. I guess, what do I need to do to get that approved, or do I need to get it approved? And I will pay for it myself.
You absolutely can do that. It just has to be to the city spec, and it's just a right-of-way permit, so it would go through the city engineer, but yeah, you can, yep.
Okay, so just come down for an application kind of
Or
thing?
you can call me, yeah, it's actually online now, so you can call me and I can walk you through it.
Okay,
Yep.
great, all right, thank you.
I'll help you.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
Let me know.
Okay, then first up on new business, we've got the letter to the mayor of Cleellum on the 47 degree north. Us, Roslyn, and other entities wanting to be a full voting, well, not voting, but a full party at the table. So it's been written, I believe, and is in front of you guys. Can we get a motion to allow me to sign this?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion here? Other than
Good idea.
let's get this going. All in favor of me signing the letter to Mayor of Cleellum on 47 degrees north, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed, say nay. Next up, we have the cemetery fee resolution. There were some changes put forward by the cemetery committee, mostly due to cost that has come up over time. The liners are more expensive. A one-time 75 charge for staff is not reasonable. During the winter, it takes much more than $75 worth of time, and then equipment. Now, the equipment rental is gonna be if needed, and it probably says required. I don't think it's actually if needed, and then that's also a minimum of 1 hour. If I could get a motion to pass these changes.
Make a motion to pass the cemetery charges, these cemetery charges in effect.
I second.
Discussion here. I believe the liners this will at least get us not in the red on liners now.
Okay. How much do liners go for?
How close is it to these prices?
Pretty dang close.
I think it was
Actually,
110.
Yeah,
last
cemetery
time.
commission thought we should up them even more. It covers the shipping and it covers the liner basically, so, there's not real, we'll have to up it every time they increase, so we probably do need to revisit it, but it was just to get us so we were not in the red, exactly what you said.
Yeah, what's happened is we realize there's not a lot of office or public works time that's captured in a lot of the cemetery stuff, and so, that becomes office.
Yeah.
That becomes negative into the office, and so we're trying to figure out how those things get covered, and so that was a recommendation. And then we're also looking at plot costs, as, we had a recent burial and it was thousands and thousands of dollars, and we're a couple $100. And we really probably need to be in reality, of people that really wanna be buried here. And not that we're trying to shaft anybody, but we definitely have to increase our fees, so.
We'll definitely cover the cost of the items, for sure.
Yeah,
Like,
it's
I'm
just
all-
been a
I'm
negative for
behind our
years.
time, but I just- that's
We've
my
been able to
biggest
run
thing.
it, but some years you have 6, sometimes you have 5, sometimes you have some, but we have to capture all the office time.
Do we order liners as we need them? It's not
Well,
like we
we
have.
keep-
we keep a few on hand, but yeah.
Yeah, about half a dozen, I think we
Yeah.
typically try to order.
6,
if
I
I'm
think I ordered
correct.
6 this
We
last
just
time.
keep 6 on hand or so? Oh, just out of curiosity, doesn't matter how many, but okay. Oh, that's a good tip.
Any other discussion of council? All in favor of the cemetery charges changes, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed, say nay. Okay, next up is a TNG service purchase for 3 turbidity meters. We probably could've got away with one, but I thought we better just replace them all.
No, yeah, we need all 3.
Yeah,
So that's the last original 1998 equipment in the treatment plant. So since the analyzer's updated and the automatic valve closure system's on its way, so basically we get that done, the SCADA, then it's just little stuff here and there. So
It's just about 10,000.
And that
It
covers
was-
all
It was
three?
to the point that.
they're the 11,000, about the $12,000 is all three.
Yeah, I think, did we budget in the budget for them this year at 20,000, 15 to 20,000 in the budget
Yeah.
just for replacement anyways?
Yeah, they were in to replace them.
That's what I
So,
thought.
yeah,
Great.
It's just been on the.
Yeah.
Even under budget.
Councilmember
Yeah.
Scheer motioned for it and Councilmember White seconded it.
Good job, Bubba.
Yeah,
Yep.
thanks for getting that done.
Yeah,
Thank you
good
so
job.
much for getting
And that's
that
part
done.
of, that measure's coming off of the sand, right?
Yeah,
Which is,
no, it measures, well, the raw water measures like basically the turbidity, so how dirty the water is
Oh,
from
coming
Domri, and then the other two measure once it goes through the
Coming
filter.
out. Okay,
Yeah,
got
so,
it. I was confused.
Yeah.
Any other discussion or council? All in favor of the TMG service purchase for the turbidity meters, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed, say nay. Okay, now we'll move on to all the hard work that the Planning and Historic Preservation Group have been reviewing the OTAC Development Code.
We're cooking right along.
And Michelle,
So I printed it all out for you because I just sent it out to you guys on email, so you've got it digitally and then you've got a hard copy in front of you, but, I don't know that it's the most efficient use of our time to go through that thing line by line like the planning commission did. If you look on that sheet that I gave you, planning commission under item number 3, they've got summary comments, so this is just a compilation of, comments where they saw initial issues. Again, this is just our preliminary draft, so we're gonna send all of this back to OTAC, they'll send us back another draft, and that is the one that, that I think is gonna need some additional focus. And then, if you go to number 4, it's got priority deliverables for final draft review. So the items listed here, those bullet points, those are items that the planning commission, and if I missed one, I mean, I was doing this in a little bit of a rush, so if I missed one, Janine. But those are items that the planning commission identified that we need to spend some time on it with either subcommittees or at a special council meeting or a special planning commission meeting. So there's a decent amount of work right there. My goal would be to get that done. I want to get these preliminary comments and everything back to OTAC by the end of this month. And then,
end of April.
yes, and then work on, the items specifically under number 4 and create whatever subcommittees we're going to do or attack that between May 1st and May 18th in the hopes that at that end of that, we'll have our final draft back from OTAC. We're very close there too. And then that is the draft that we really need to focus on. But I think that these, what are there, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bullet points under here, we really need to do some deep dive into what do we want that code to say and what fits Roslyn before we get that final draft back. And as we do that, I can update OTAC and they can try to incorporate some of it, but I think, and I'm not saying those are the only, so if somebody here has got something else identified, I think the planning commission did a really good job. They had all reviewed it and had their notes prepared before we ever had the meeting, and it was 95 pages of boringness, so.
Well, it is when you start reading all those codes. Oh, brother.
So that's how I envision it. I sent it out to all of you guys, so definitely if you guys have notes, and like I told the planning commission, if they come up with something after the fact and they want to shoot me an email, I have to schedule a follow-up meeting with OTAC either later this week or first part of next week to kind of give them a summary of, are we heading in the right direction? Is this totally off base? I don't think it's totally off base. There are a couple of items that I guess I wanted to clarify, and we went over those. One of them is they've added duplex throughout the language. I'm not quite sure. Duplex is in our code, and it's an allowed use, but I'm not quite sure what the thought process is there and why we need to have duplex and single-family residence. For the most part, single-family residence would encompass duplex. So there must be a reason. I don't know what that reason is, so I need to get that clarification of why that's there, and if it actually needs to be there, or if we can just leave it as single-family residence. So I'm assuming there's some precedent that they have dealt with that I haven't, but I'll find out. And then the other thing was, I don't know if you guys noticed, but the wildfire prevention ordinance that we've worked on, the lighting ordinance, and then the updates to the master plan development that planning commission has worked on previously, those are all incorporated in this draft. There was one of them, I believe it was I'm trying to think which one it was. I gotta look at my other notes. But anyway, there was one section, I don't know that they had the most recent updates, so I need to make sure they have the most recent one that council saw and planning commission. But again, those can still be changed now as well as part of this, so, go ahead.
I had a couple questions. One, the wildfire ordinance, didn't we pass that? So this is incorporating that into the code?
No, we were right at the point of passing
Oh,
it.
Didn't pass it.
And so we didn't actually pass it. I brought it forth and we let you guys look at it, and then we decided that rather than carry on 2 public processes, which can
Gotcha.
become cumbersome, it would be easier to just incorporate it with this update. So
Same with the lighting ordinance?
same with the lighting ordinance, because otherwise we would be going through the same public hearing 3 different times.
Gotcha.
And I don't know that that's, not to mention create confusion for the public of what's going on here,
Yeah.
so.
The other thing is regarding the master plan overlay ordinance. One of the things, there's a bunch of requirements that are in there. You have to look at traffic, you have to look at sewer capacity, water capacity, et cetera. One of the things I thought, because any master plan that would apply would be so large relative to the city, that it would be, if we could include a requirement that they do a fiscal analysis as well. Because, especially, looking at ownership and, if they're different than what a normal ownership is, because, we're right on the edge with our, revenues versus costs. And it'd be a good idea to see how something that big would affect our balances, I think.
Are you including like impact fees?
Well,
Or is that different?
I don't know about that. I'm just thinking about, there's some developments proposed around here, for instance, that have an ownership structure where the property taxes are much lower than normal.
Gotcha.
And so therefore, but they have the same levels of service.
Mm-hmm.
And so that impacts the rest of the taxpayers, right? So, I'm not saying it's good or bad, there's trade-offs for everything, it could be, but we should know that,
Mm-hmm.
what that impact is before we go too far with the project, with any project. And I also was curious what your thoughts were about surveying. I saw that in here, and I know it's a policy.
Oh, yeah, so, right now, it was brought up at the planning commission's meeting last night that the city is authorized to require a survey if it sees a need for a survey. So we have a adopted policy that requires a survey on any new construction, you have to survey the property, and also on additions, you have to survey the property. That's how we've handled it to now, and we've left the code broad. There was some discussion of should we actually state that policy language right in the code. So there's pros and cons to that, so we can discuss that, and I'll kind of go over that with OTEC as well when we discuss that. But
What do you think?
I would hesitate to get too specific, only because then it limits what you can potentially require a survey, and I would love to tell you that I can think of every possible proposal that's going to come through the door, but would be a lie, because it's not. So what happens is if you get it too narrow, sometimes you back yourself into a corner where you can't, you've got language that would prohibit you from requiring it, and when you get pushback, it becomes difficult then to actually require something like that. So that would be my only hesitation, but that doesn't mean that we couldn't narrow the language down from what it is. It is very broad in there. It basically just says we can require it whenever we want. So I'm not opposed to limiting that to some degree, but.
Does it cause problems? Have you got a lot of?
No, we actually haven't. I haven't got a lot of, initially we did, but that would have been, that was before COVID, so I think it was 2019 we adopted that, and I haven't really got any pushback in the last couple of years anyway, for sure.
So just to jump in a little bit, one of the things that came up, and is kind of loosely referenced in here, is to actually have the cemetery be a separate zone, as opposed, because right now it's technically residential, but it really isn't.
No. Yeah, I agree.
So to kind of, be sure we cover that. And I know there's, I'm reading it quick here, under 3 it talks about references to vinyl fencing in portions of the draft, but I think it was vinyl covered chain link fencing, is that what that is? Or
I don't remember, I'll have to go back and look specifically what it said. It was an odd ad.
It's an odd.
It was an odd ad.
The Michelle did this between 8:30 last night, and this is relatively amazing, so thank you. Not amazing, but.
Well, it's not
You're always amazing, but.
It's very quick.
It's impressive.
But yeah,
Cemetery allowed.
that second to last bullet point under 3 where it says RMC addresses zoning designations that are not included on the zoning map, that I was incorporating the
That was what
cemetery
that
one,
was,
yeah.
yeah.
Because there's also other zones, there's a watershed zone, there's There's some other zones that, that is the same issue. The cemetery is probably the most pressing of those.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. Separate.
Yeah, just, yeah, that would make things a lot clearer.
And what that is it's a zoning designation that's referenced in our zoning code,
Okay.
but it's not shown on our zoning map. And the reason for that is that it's undevelopable in the cemetery. I mean, somebody can't come in there and buy a piece of property and build a house, so it's probably never been an issue. But because it's referenced as a zone, it came up that should we delete this because you don't show it on your zoning map? And I guess my answer was no, we don't want to delete it. Maybe the answer is to put it on the zoning map. So,
Okay.
so anyway, that's what that was about. But for now, I guess what I need, and maybe you all haven't had time to review it either, but if there's anything glaring that we haven't hit on in what I gave you here, and I don't expect you to necessarily answer me right this second either, I guess I want to know that so that when I have that meeting with OTAC, we can funnel this a little bit, I guess.
Yeah, we can send you an email, that's like you and I.
Yeah, and that's what I told the planning commission too. As long as we send them individually, and then
Yep.
and then I can have that discussion with them. And then again, this is not the last time we're going to look at this 90-some pages.
Yeah.
When do you want these comments by? Thursday?
If I could have them by the end of even Friday is fine. If I can have them by the end of this week, that would be great.
Perfect.
Perfect.
Then I would expect a joint meeting, I guess, is work study
Yeah.
between the.
Oh,
Yeah.
I
yeah.
think we should.
Sorry. If you go to number 8 where it says high level timeline schedule, I skipped a whole part that's actually very important. So that one that I have highlighted, this is again tentative plan. I mapped out 2 public engagement meetings, tentative dates to be discussed during council on 4/26. So if we could map out roughly, they both are going to be held in the month of May, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you guys want to hold those during the regular council meetings, if you want to, set them out and do like an open house type thing, or I guess that's the question on that one, is how you want to start that public engagement for the actual meetings themselves.
Personally, I think being 2 of them, we just want to do them during council.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of pressing things.
I'd prefer an open house to get everybody, the CAC, the planning, and the public all under one roof, and we just kind of discuss any concerns or what everybody's feeling.
Would you prefer that the first one?
I
or
would
the
prefer that as the
second?
first one, and then the
Okay.
second one is when we come back and make our final decisions where we're at and we feel comfortable. Because, yeah, even reading the 90 pages is just, I have to understand it a little bit better. So I'm gonna hopefully meet up with another council member and just kind of pass back ideas, just so I can fully understand everything on here that I need to in a planning mind and for the future of Roslyn, hopefully.
So
we
then,
don't have to
are
do
we
this
okay
again.
then, the first normal council meeting, bring in the planning and historic preservation group and CSC if you want.
I think we just bring in
Just make it an
everything.
open
We just
house.
have a big open
Open to
house.
public.
Just,
Put a
So
bunch
do you
of
want to
chairs
do
up.
it and like start the council meeting an hour early,
We'll
or
do
how
it
do
at 3:30,
Okay.
yeah, like it would be but we'll just flow right through it. It'll just be a
Yeah.
regular council meeting, we'll post it for public.
and then
and
take some
public
time on
hearing
it
as
too,
well.
and just really
Yeah.
dissect as much as we can and make sure that we're making the best decisions for the future.
And we keep on the timeline.
There we- yeah.
Yeah.
Just a comment, I wonder if 3:30 makes it really difficult for people to come as opposed to having it after the council meeting? I mean, we want people to come, and if people are working people,
Yeah.
it makes it really difficult. I mean, I would propose that we have it after the regular meeting. Just,
Just do a quick meeting
and then have, I mean,
so
just-
can we just do the council meeting at 3:30 and then have the,
Yeah.
I think that
the
would be
co-
good.
Yeah, I agree, I like that better. I mean, I
Yeah.
think people get out there at 4:30, even the people in planning
Yeah.
commission, CAC job,
Yeah.
right? And we want them to get home, be able to have a little bit,
Yeah.
get it figured out before they get
It's
here.
just, yeah, just,
okay.
And maybe we just
I'm
do like
fine
a
with that.
5 o'clock or set a
Thank you.
time that we start that meeting and we do the council meeting prior.
and then just, yeah, have that.
Okay,
Like set a time so we know that
Council
gives them
meeting's
time to be
first.
here as a date and then,
okay, we'll figure that out.
Yeah,
then.
we'll figure out.
Yeah, we'll do council
sense.
first earlier,
yeah.
and then 5 probably pretty.
And I mean, you can look at council, if there's nothing that's really pending for that week or on a time limit, we could always push it to the next council meeting, as long as it's not a pending item, time-wise.
Yeah. This is definitely a definite priority that we
Because
have
this
to
is the
get
priority
done.
for sure.
To get this moratorium.
Yeah, we want to get this moratorium on time out of here.
And then we'll get it, I've got all the, public outreach, I don't know if I'm missing something there, I've got potentially the utility bill, the city website, our Facebook page, if there's another avenue you guys wanna do something or that you can think
We're
of.
required to put it in the paper as well, Troy.
Well, I'm talking just in general about the
Yeah.
code update, but yes, we'll put that in the paper and do all of our normal advertising
Yeah.
for that. And then the rest of those, I'll just let you guys read them, but they just give tentative dates. That's assuming we don't have to have any additional special meetings. I imagine we'll probably have to squeeze some in there somewhere, but anyway, it's just a tentative plan to keep us on track, which would have us adopt on June 14th at the regular council meeting, if all goes perfectly. That's our goal.
But you have this as a special meeting on May 1st. Oh, never mind. You're recommending from the 1st through the 18th.
Yeah, that we review those items under number 4, those specific.
Yeah.
That's when we as a group, between council, planning commission, CAC, I mean, there's a lot of groups we would probably involve in those subcommittees to discuss those specific sections of code.
Gotcha.
And
I was thinking of your timeline and
yeah.
we were going to.
And those are, I mean, those can all be public meetings too. It's not as if, I'm just thinking we need to definitely have 2 that we advertise as like open house or, that sort of thing. And then we still have to hold our public hearing, which we'll do on, well, we could do that the second May meeting as well when we do that. Yeah, we'll figure that part out. But.
And then if there is a special meeting, it'll be last week in May, first week in June, kind of thing. If there's more T's to cross, I's to dot.
Yeah, my goal was if we push to have everything finalized by the end of May, that gives us another week or so in there, because we're gonna hit. I mean, if we don't,
Yeah, we gotta use May as
Yeah.
our tram month to do whatever we need to do to achieve our goal.
Yeah.
So on a few of the, sorry, the items where that need some more attention, we got to have a mini parking committee with Jeff and Kathy and I. You want us to delve in, continue with that?
Yeah, I don't care how we
but-
want to do that. I mean, the most important thing is to get a direction of, is what they've proposed even in the wheelhouse of what we want? Do we want to go totally different than that? That sort of thing. I mean, I don't think we need to get into drafting the code. That's what we're paying them to do, and we're paying them a lot of money. But providing them whatever feedback we can that, hey, this just doesn't fit Roslyn. We're going to need something more along the lines of this, and giving them an example of that.
Some of the comments like about ADU and parking and things sort of threw me off and didn't actually know our situation, why we implemented certain codes. And I think you and I have discussed this. You've already sort of taken care of a couple of those.
Well, I think so, yeah.
Yeah, so we can continue contacting, I think, if you want to.
Yeah.
We can discuss that. I'm totally fine with
We
that,
just
actually.
kind of, if you want, if it needs to be in depth, kind of a little. And maybe sending the idea about how much acreage of house the urban core should have to CAC.
Yeah.
Possibly that would be a group to tease that out.
That was my plan, to get their feedback. It's a weird deal because literally, I mean, 20 acres is so out of the ballpark of anything that's in that zone, and inadvertently what it's doing is it's limiting people to have property in that from, where we've got houses that are built across property lines and we can't combine the lots because one of the lots is zoned residential and one's urban forest overlay, and so it's creating some problems in that regard. So there's a solution there. I'm just not sure what it is. They threw out 10 acres. I'm not sure that's the answer, but it's a starting point. 20 acres was too much, so.
Didn't we
I
talk
guess
about boundary adjustment?
I guess I should say that I have a property that's affected by that overlay. And I have some opinions, but I wanted to let everybody know that that does affect me directly, so.
I will vouch for the fact it does affect him every time he wants to do something.
Well, and CAC is not meeting in May, so.
Well, and we'll figure that out.
Okay.
We'll figure something out, yeah.
We're good, council?
Yeah.
The last item would be, I'd like to get a motion to officially recognize fire chief's pay raise that you guys budgeted for.
I make a motion.
Retroactive
give the
to
fire chief
January
for
1.
a
Yeah,
raise.
retroactive
I'll
to
second.
January 1st.
Yep, to retroactive to January 1st.
Any discussion other than, I'm sorry we missed it? All in
Well
favor of
deserved.
the chief's pay raise, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed, say nay. Okay, council concerns?
Oh, we were gonna.
Oh,
At the last,
Yeah.
oh, that's right, I even wrote it down.
at the last
Discuss,
council meeting.
the last discussion of property tax.
Yeah, at the last
Sorry.
council meeting,
Oh, yeah.
we discussed possible property tax increase, levy increase, because we're the lowest tax city in the state, at $1.23. And we're sort of proposing, because we've got a police contract that's coming up it's gonna be a $60,000 increase. We've got an underfunded fire department. We've got development that's probably gonna happen very significantly, and we need to do something about that. We need to figure out some funding sources for that. The last council meeting, we were kicking around the idea of like a 47-cent increase that would bring in a measly $100,000. But that keeps us,
Where does that put us in line with the
that
rest of the
puts
county
us
cities?
under Ellensburg.
Yeah, I saw Cleon was number one.
Yeah, Clown's number one. And these, we're not comparing
Right.
the right stuff here. Ellensburg, their property tax is $1.71. They also have $1.50 that's not in here that goes to fire protection services only. And they've got bonds and they've got school levies and everything else, but there's a whole $1.50 that's not reflected in this or Kittitas's $1.53. Cleon does fund the fire department, so that's why they're up there at 196. They're funding that part, and it comes right out of their general budget. So I guess my idea is I'd like to figure out if councils would be interested in approaching that, doing a levy increase. I think it needs to be done immediately. It has to be done and filed and figured out before the 13th, I believe, is that right?
13th,
To
yeah.
get it on the ballot for August.
It doesn't sound like 47 cents is enough.
I don't think 47 cents is enough. 70 cents if we're gonna actually fund a police department and a fire service is something that needs to be looked at, I think.
That was my question, is obviously we've looked at numbers with the fire levy and library levy and stuff, and I think that's how I want to know if we could look at it, is using some of that. I mean, obviously it could change per mayor, right, because it'd be in the general fund, but yeah, if we could look at increasing it enough that we could capture some police, because that's increasing 20% next year, and then some of the fire department, maybe a little bit of budget money there also, so we can increase that and continue raises that are needed and so forth as we move forward. I mean, that would be a good way to, I think that'd be a great way to look at it, do a property tax levy.
And if we sell this, look, it's a sell thing, right? We have to sell this to our citizens. And if we can sell it as a public safety issue, I think we've got a chance.
Yeah.
If we're gonna sell it as, the city's just gonna raise taxes again, they haven't told us what they're gonna do with it, it's not gonna go. August is also a very tricky time to run any kind of election, because the voters you get in August are grumpy. They're showing up because they don't like something on the ballot. If you can sell this as a public safety thing, once again, police and fire, and this county will be on fire in August, we can pass this.
Would we write it as a census, say it was 47 cents or 50 cents, it was 50 cents in general, went to the city base and we had 25 cents, would we divide it into percentages and say, we're gonna put 25% towards fire, 25% towards police, 50% towards general funding, or do we even go there?
I don't even know if we need to go there exactly. It's probably something that makes it more complicated.
Okay.
But we title this as a public safety type of thing.
And why?
Yeah. And this is what we want to do. We have an increase in police. We're going to have an increase in fire. Let's budget for this.
And if we do the 70 cents per thousand, then we'll get about $150,000. And that will bring us in, our tax rate will be just right under Cleelum's. Just a hair under.
That sounds good to me, but I was gonna ask a question, the police increase, right? If I remember correctly, it was $60,000 last year, but it was gonna be $60,000 more a year is it 3 or 4?
It's a 20% increase we signed for 3 years.
For 3 years. Yeah, so it's, it's not just that one.
No, it's not one, yeah.
It's every year, for 3 years.
Which can be renegotiated,
Yeah.
But let's just assume.
If we sold this as a public safety thing, Chief, could you get your guys on board?
I think so. I have.
Because we're gonna need public support. And
Some
there's
outreach.
nothing better than having a firefighter read the door.
No, we're gonna need some outreach.
When
some
you're,
help.
when you're not calling 911.
We're having an officers meeting this evening, so I can talk to them about it, but,
Okay.
yeah.
And we talked with the attorney, she said that is feasible.
Okay.
So she sent a copy of the draft resolution and then to speak more to the point of designating
Yep.
percentages. I didn't see that in the draft resolution that she gave us, but it does, the one she sent us, which is a sample, does specify specific things that you're going to utilize it, which I don't think is a problem on,
Yeah.
on our part. I mean, we could definitely do that. But she's working on getting back to me of how specific, if you guys want to move forward with it. So
Okay.
it is feasible, it's gonna be a little bit of a push, but I think we could get it done,
Okay.
according to her, so.
And I think we need to try to go for this August. In November, a general election. This is, our city starts with an R, we're at the back of the pamphlet. You're talking voter fatigue after you've gone through everything else, and it's a no.
Well, we are in peak fire season. We're in a season where you're gonna hear sirens all summer long here, right? That's what happens in the summer. A good time to be aware of what happens and why.
And turnout's lower, and you think that's advantageous for us too? or-
It's, the advantageous thing is if we call it public safety, fire, 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 and something's on fire, there we go.
I mean, I could certainly sell that in my corner of the world for
Yeah.
sure, because that's the number one thing that people talk to me about.
Yeah.
So if you care about that, then here you go.
And it's a percentage on the total that vote for that election, correct? It's
I
a
believe
percentage
so.
of that, not the
Right.
overall voter registration
I believe that's
percentage.
right.
Yeah.
Okay. Because that's key, obviously, in the August
Right.
election.
Yeah.
And then there's rules about you guys specifically as council members being able to rally for it, so she'll send that all over. Staff's a little bit more open.
We can educate, we just can't persuade a vote.
I'm not
Right.
actually sure what the rules are, she hasn't sent it to me yet,
Right.
but she said she would send, because she said it's very critical that you guys all understand that, so.
Is that
Whatever
the chief
we're
as
gonna follow
well?
to the T.
What's that?
Would that be like whatever rules are against
You're
to
You're
us?
supposed to not be in uniform.
There's,
There it is.
there's, yeah, well,
Oh.
maybe.
Chief can go out and say, I'm Corey, I vote yes on this.
Mhm.
She can't go out and say, I'm the chief of the
Gotcha.
department, you have to vote yes on this. And the same with us.
Yeah,
We can go, I can say, oh yeah, Jeff Shear, I'm voting yes on all that stuff.
gotcha.
Like you can run the committee, you can pay for the committee, you can write a check, whatever you want. But you can't sit there, and I can't do it from this seat here. Yeah, as soon as I'm out that door, do whatever I want. And it's the same with staff. They can do whatever they want outside that door.
But there's a rule about like 3 of us doing that.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
couldn't do that.
Open for, yeah.
All right.
Right.
I'm sorry, 4.
Can we also use this, let's just say we go for the 70%, can we use a percentage of that towards emergency snow removal?
That's public safety.
Yeah, I think you
It's
can
just-
do whatever
it's all
you
public
want,
safety.
yeah.
Yeah.
Because we need to figure out how we're gonna start that bank,
Yeah.
because if we get caught next year like this, it's gonna be really tough.
Yeah.
$300,000 is or $150,000 or whatever it was.
We're still paying for John.
$300,000.
Yeah,
Yeah.
in Jolly Mountain, yeah. So or I guess an emergency fund. I guess I don't want to say just a snow fund, but an emergency
Yeah.
umbrella.
For the skeptics like me, I'm not a skeptic of this, but I see that viewpoint of that person from the East Coast who's very unaware of this. Like, do you tie in public safety with sustainability at some point, like in your campaign? That's gonna really like just grab the millennial audience really quickly. So
Mhm.
keep that in mind too.
It's true.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll go forward on this at 70%.
70 cents per
70
thousand.
cents on that.
70
Seven-
cents?
seven-
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
76
Yeah.
cents.
76 cents?
Just 70.
Oh, 70,
Yeah, with
okay,
50
sorry.
cents, point
That's the max.
7%.
No.
No, there, I don't know if there is. a max.
Michelle?
Yeah.
It was just to try to stay under clean. all
Yeah,
the-
I guess that's what we're trying to do.
Yeah,
Not be the
She had a
top. We didn't want to be
90%.
number one.
Don't be number 1, okay.
We'll be number
It's the
two.
middle one.
Makes sense.
Oh, okay, perfect, thanks, Kathy.
Do we need to make a motion to vote on it or anything?
Well, not yet, not,
Okay.
legal will put the thing together and you guys vote on it,
Great.
which we send to the county.
Oh, the other thing is we have to have a ballot title cover letter to the
Mhm.
county by the 13th, and it's pretty straightforward, except for the very last part, which we're supposed to provide a name of a person who's going to be the head of the committee in favor of it, of the tax And we also have to provide the name of the person who's gonna write the thing in the voter pamphlet against it. So,
Did we reach out to the League of Women Voters on something like that, maybe?
I don't know.
Because they put the pamphlet together.
I'm not sure.
Not a bad place to start though.
Well, yeah, I mean, how would you,
Because,
how do you
yeah,
find an opponent, you know,
Yeah.
to what we all,
Gotta vote Mickey Mouse for the against.
well, you know.
Yeah.
Let's reach out to the League of Women Voters and see how they suggest to fill that last part in, of the opponent
So,
side.
yeah.
I'm sure there will be plenty, but. And now council concerns.
I have a couple. I know we talked about refurbishing the Welcome to Roslyn sign a while ago, and we want to keep that sign. RDA has stepped up and is willing to pay for the work to do that, if we make a request in. They can either provide the artist, or we can provide the artist, so is that okay to move forward on that request? I'd have to do it, the city has to make the request for the money, but
Okay.
I could facilitate that.
Yeah, I think that's fine. I mean, the one question I would have, when we get to that level, is can we get it made in vinyl to where it wouldn't break down so fast?
Probably. I think
The redo?
We were just
Yeah.
talking about repainting it.
Well,
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying, the paint breaks down, whereas a vinyl sign might last longer.
Yeah.
The exact same image,
Yeah, I also-
exact same colors.
But then it'd be vinyl, I mean, like.
Yeah, but vinyl does break down after a while, especially
Yeah.
under weather conditions. I'd
Yeah.
almost be fine with painting it and just sealing it.
I was gonna say a clear coat
A clear-
or something
That's
over it
more-
maybe.
Yeah.
Okay,
that's
that's
all.
Have we reached out, did you get a chance to reach to an artist yet?
Kathy had an artist in mind.
Well, Will Bow is does murals, and he lives in town, and so I didn't email him till yesterday.
Yeah,
Sorry.
no worries. But I mean, I think as long as we're all on the same page, that we wanna refurbish what we have to start with and get something as fresh and clean as we can started. And,
Do you know who did the original one?
Actually,
that might be a Jerry Porter question, actually.
Yeah.
it goes way back.
Yeah, I could reach out to Jerry tomorrow. I won't have time to.
I mean, if we can find them, they're alive and they're willing, it might be the.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Alive and
The most
willing.
Yeah, I think that's a good call.
That's
It'd be
true.
great to try to get it done sooner than
Yeah.
later.
Or can we just proceed with somebody who follows the same design though, as opposed to trying to find somebody who's, might be in their eighties? I mean, that's
Well,
fine,
no,
Yeah.
I like people in their
I
eighties,
agree.
Yeah.
nice.
I think we're really just trying to recapture what's there
Yeah,
and because it's very just
Put
faded,
some
right?
trace
Just
on it.
make it look, have it be new.
It's just
Yeah, ask Mr. Bow, and yeah, we do find the original too. That'd be kind of nice, but yeah, I'd really like to proceed with it
Yeah.
sooner than later.
Yeah, and if you said, hey, I just can't do it, we could also put out, Roslyn's looking for somebody to redo the welcome sign and refurbish
There's
it.
also an artist, Catherine Johnson, up in the
Yeah.
post office building too. There's
Yeah.
artists around. That
we're
we-
probably required to put it to bid anyway,
So really, for a grant, like,
I wonder who he,
sure.
so. Well, we'll
It's under
figure
a
that
certain
out.
amount, I would
I
think,
mean,
we
it's
might
gonna
not
be
have to.
It's gonna be really, we're talking
Okay.
paint and
Yeah.
sandpaper and.
That's true.
Let's see if we can stretch that to what we
And then-
can find for volunteerism and maybe donation or something.
Okay.
right.
Already asking for it,
Yeah, Sherry told me that last night,
Yeah.
or already last night,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
And then we could also try and figure out who repainted the mural on the side of the Roslyn Cafe and Theater, because those have been redone recently.
Yeah.
It's the same
Mhm.
person who did it
I
before.
mean, I know who did the ones down in Clayton last
He
year.
passed away this last year.
Yeah.
It's different.
Yeah.
Sorry,
The
oh yeah.
artist for the cafe.
Oh,
missed my-
it is,
missed
it looks a
my-
little different.
I could have Kathy Patork down in Clayton, because she just redid the ones next to Galando's last summer. She's the one that redid all that on the, if you look between, did a fantastic
She
job,
did a
and she's
really
very,
nice
very
job.
talented.
Yeah,
I know her fairly well, why don't I reach and ask her also?
Okay, yeah,
she's,
okay.
she'd be really good.
Mhm.
Yeah.
She'd be really good.
Yeah. Okay, so that was my one thing, and then, just a note, there's been a lot of requests from the city to legislative monies, and, Patty Murray's office just kind of let, friends and us know that there's no conflict between asking for refurbishing money and, like, stormwater money. I mean, in case everybody worries that we're asking for some money here, money there, they assured us there's like no real competition about that. So, that was one thing, and then my other thing's more personal here. But, because I think it's something that's bothered me a little bit, and I just kind of want it in public, is during my 3 months tenure on council, several comments have come back to me about what a bad job the previous commissioners did in revising codes. And that's why we're in trouble now. I listened carefully, since for about 10 years I was one of those commissioners tasked by the city and councils to review and revise codes, some which had not been touched since 1917. During During some 2021 council meetings, I heard several disparaging remarks about previous public works directors and CAC members. I just think, as elected officials, we should encourage respect for people who have worked over the years to keep the city alive and healthy, whatever our mistakes or successes have been.
I agree. Thank you.
A little emotional about it. I just think, I think we are leaders in that, and we have to kind of make sure that there's respect, even if we disagree on things.
Thank you, Janine.
Thanks.
Anybody else yet? I've got, just a, go ahead, you ready? You done?
I'm done.
You sure? Okay.
I was gonna call Nolan, but I don't want him to.
I'm actually gonna hit up on Nolan on one of these actually, because you're very familiar with it, much more than myself, because your kids and the age and the area, and you've walked through it with us. So we'll start with, the two first pictures are about, this is about the gazebo area from the RDA, in the location by the coal mine trail over here on the east side of the city. And so originally we had picked, if you look at the one with the tree, we'd picked two areas, one area on this side and one area on this side as we did our walkthrough. This side, Janine reached out to DHAP, I believe.
DH, yeah.
Yeah, and we basically, they do not want to see the concrete from the tipple pile removed. There's a safety issue. And so we wanted to know if we were able to remove those if we put the kiosk to that area. And they virtually would like to see it not moved and leave the history there.
If I may say, it's
Yeah, go ahead, you can comment
actually
to that.
protected by state law.
Yeah.
Because of the way things are written, so.
I thought through the email, I thought they were still looking at that.
They
You'll see
reset a
There's a
second
new
email.
email to it.
Yeah, there could be some mitigation if we decide to go for mitigation, but
Why don't you send him, want to send the second email?
Oh, I might have got it.
Okay.
I thought I did, but I'll be sure you got it.
I had the same question, Noel, until I read this. Next day, we got the feedback off the second mail.
More RCW covers it.
Yeah.
So. It could be done, but I suspect it would be time consuming and complicated, but
Yeah.
so.
And so this was the second option, was basically where that sign was. It was about just relocating these two signs and putting the kiosk in that corner. And that, I think, Noel, you mentioned possible bike trail coming down that side, but I wasn't.
No, it's more to the right. If the bike trail comes more to the right of that kiosk, like 20 feet or so, you can kind of see that main trail. There's a little spit trail that's like on the left side, but it intersects with that main trail.
So do you think if we actually did just relocate those two signs, maybe to the other side by the tipple pile, by the tipple foundations, and we located that kiosk there, that wouldn't interfere with anything?
That'd be fine.
Yeah.
I don't mountain bike, so I don't know what that area is
No,
like.
no.
But, and then, Judy Warnick and Tom Dent and so forth, and them have received $171,000 for the REA for this gazebo. And so I think it's important we pick that location so at least they can start their planning for the year. And so
To
just
be
trying to
honest,
find a
I'm
mutual
gonna-
agreement.
I'm gonna object and still say that we should get those concrete. I know it's history, but it's also a huge danger that we are putting, even with the gazebo there, and inviting families to play and recreate right there. There's rebar and there's huge hazards in that concrete, just playing on it. It's like, as a city, we have an opportunity to take care of that, put a nice plaque up that shows the tipple right now. We don't do anything to showcase our history except for leaving crumbling concrete that is a hazard. And if we're gonna do it right, I think the gazebo, if you're looking at that property, the place that you're suggesting right now is hiding a beautiful piece that we are showcasing from the Yakima Nation as a gazebo to help families, the outdoor school, and so forth. I still think the location should be where that tipple concrete is. We would be eliminating two birds with one stone. To me, it's ugly. I walk by it every day. I'm gonna get rid of this big pipe one day and put it in the city's lot because it shouldn't be there. It's a rusty pipe that, again, somebody can hurt themselves. I hate throwing out liability. When I was a kid, I mocked my dad all the time for doing it, and now it's ingrained into me that liability is huge and that the city has a huge liability right there. and that the Department of Historical Preservation would even say anything. It's like, well, come out and look at it. Come out and observe how much of a danger this is, and then tell us that. Because right now we're not doing anything to commemorate the tipple, except for a little wooden sign that's broken up down, but it also is just the explosion. There's nothing there except for concrete.
What do you think? You think the other area that we had originally looked at is still in the way of the sledding hill then? Is that?
No, if you remove, if you remove the concrete, that's a perfect prime location for a gazebo. Because you have the sledding hill, that's where everybody hangs out. Even the New Year's Eve party, they have a huge bonfire right there. They light off fireworks right there. And again, we have people partying and hanging out around a liability. And we just sit there and we're like, okay, yeah, it's fine, it's historical. It's historical, but we're not doing anything.
Jeff, what's the timeline for the
I gotta
project?
say, I agree with Jeff on this one.
Nolan, you mean?
I mean, Nolan, I agree with Nolan. I might agree with Jeff too.
I honestly, I'm just the messenger on location. I've been very clear. This is why I've offered I want all you to give your opinion, and that's what this is about. I have no preferred area.
My issue is, it is what it is out there now,
Yep.
right? But the minute we build this gazebo, it becomes an attraction.
Yep.
And all of a sudden now it becomes a quasi-public park.
Yep.
Right? I'd like to hear the attorney say that, but it seems that we would end up having liability there. It just seems to me that we would, because we're creating an attraction, and that would occur even if we put it over here.
Yeah.
Because we're gathering people to this spot. And so, we have to find out, we're probably gonna have to do something anyway, right? I'm not advocating to remove it if that's against state law, but do we have to put a fence around it, right? Do we have to bury it, right? So that it's grassed over like a mound, or can we build a foundation around it and put a gazebo on top of it without damaging it? But I don't think we can leave it there. It just seems to me.
What is the timeline though, Jeff?
What I want, well, at this point, they've been appropriated money, right? No different than the library, and it's basically out of virtually the same fund. We've got the library edition out, so there's probably a timeline. I assume they have a year and a half, 18 months, something like that. And they have a contractor that's available in August, and all I am is trying to find a location so they can make their planning. I don't care where it's at. We don't have a lot of locations in the city. That's really it would be great to have a gazebo in this end of town. We have nothing on this end of town. The idea is to, for the outdoor school to use it. The Yakima Nations looked at the location. They absolutely love it. And I'm not opposed to either side. And, originally I took everybody to go look at the grassy area. And that's where I don't have my kids there. And I think you pointed out that that's the wrong spot because kids coming off the hill. And that's sort of where we originally wanted, was out in the open area. And then when we got there, it was like, gotta be great if we move this concrete. It is a great spot. I agree with Nolan. I think it's the most visual spot. But also, this is between everybody here. It's just an opinion. And if somebody wants to do the homework on the foundations and find out sooner than later what it's gonna take to remove those, if that's the case, have at it. I wanna get an answer to the RDA. The fact that they reached out, raised money, they're ready to get this. I'd like to help them move forward with the project.
So you might, when you use the words mitigation and DAP in the same sentence, you could be talking about a 2-year timeline to mitigate.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
And I guess that would be my only, I have no feeling one way or the other. I'm just doing that research, if that's the spot you guys want to go, doing that research and finding out what that mitigation would actually be. I don't know what it would be, I'm not on the email, but when you have those two terms, or any state entity for that matter, and mitigation in there, that can take a long time, I guess.
That's my fear. And that's, they've talked to us about this.
And maybe it doesn't. Maybe it just needs to be asked.
I just want to find a location for it on this end of town. We don't have a lot of property on this end of town because of Proterra. And the idea was to sort of keep all these entities in that area, since we're losing the 33 acres where they can still use the forest, have something there the mountain bikers can use, have the walkers in the coal mine trail use, outdoor school.
What about putting the gazebo where the signs are?
Mm-hmm.
And then asking DAP what sort of mitigations we would need to provide to remove the concrete. So you'd get the gazebo there in a timely manner, and then start working on removing the concrete.
If I may, let me do a little research, and since I'm communicating with those guys, Lance and Allison, and ask what mitigation means. Does it mean preserving the other side, does it mean making a sign, and then we can at least see if it's, but I do kind of think Michelle's right, that whatever it is would take some time.
Yeah, I mean, I think the concern of no, I mean, in general, these should have been concerns all along, whether there's a gazebo or there not. It's a active mountain park area that people ride their bikes down. So maybe the fact of pointing out the hazards rather than just the history of it and what happens in that area and see what that comes to. And I agree with Noel. I think that's the best visual spot. When we stood there and you looked at the road, and I think we all agree that had made that walk that day, that if you stood at the corner of the lot of the end of Dakota here, that's where you're gonna see it. So you may not see it as well behind that, the location that we are talking there. That I will agree. I think the first spot is definitely a priority, but I wanna try to get them a project at some point. So if you two could work together on maybe moving ahead with that and what the solution would be great.
Yeah, and talking about timeline, it's kind of like this is kind of brought up with like the city of Cleon and what they're going with. We gotta really just look at our future too. Like we can make a decision and the gazebo can go here, let's get it done by August. But maybe it's not the best part or the best location. So let's take in our time, making sure that everything happens with Department of Historical Preservation, and if that can work, cool. If it can't, all right. But let's take our time to make sure that the future of our town is represented well with the council that we have here on making this like, this will be here forever. And this is for the Yakima Nation. So where is the best location to preserve that at all times for families and for future? That's my biggest thing, is I don't want to just put it there because we think we have a location. But this location, maybe we put it on top of the hill. Shit, I don't know. Like, there's places, but.
Now, we've looked at the map on that side, and I'll say I spent the time doing it.
Yeah.
So if you can keep talking about, finding the location, find it and let me know.
Yeah.
And not 2 months, let's do it sooner than, this is something that, we've all said we would pitch in and pick a location. I get the planning part of it. They went try to get money, let's move forward then on other parts. And if there's another location you can find property, let us know.
Can I say something about it? Just as far as parks and stuff, because at the end of the day, I agree with Nolan about the safety stuff. Because I took a class on park safety, and it's like it's like the strictest thing in the world, especially for little kids. And at the end of the day, once we get this done, whose responsibility is going to be, to maintain it. So it's one of those other things. I mean, I don't get a vote, but obviously,
RDA,
it'll fall on my lap at some point too. So.
Once we pick the location, RDA will do a presentation, bring what the gazebo is, because it still has to go through design review. And then they also put a maintenance plan in front of us, and it'll probably be a joint maintenance plan with RDA, some RDA funding, and ourselves. It'll be a completely dry structure, no water, no power. And so that's sort of the idea of it. Be fairly open with short walls. Is sort of the description I've got. So that's what they'll do when we get opens. I've expressed the maintenance issue, cost, burden, longevity.
I'd almost recommend some kind of power. Because you're putting it over there in that sign right now, the big reader board is tagged on the back with black spray paint. And I wouldn't be surprised if we saw some kind of vandalism if we put up the next beautiful structure.
There are bad things inside the slides that the guys can't fit into to clean them off.
And that was one of my concerns too, but yeah. But if we can, if it's solar or some kind of
Solar motion lights.
something
like
to deter, because if you're just dark at night, middle of winter, or summer, some kids walking by with the right thing, and I like to have some kind of chance of catching them or scaring them away. But
anyways, that's the location. I'll leave it up there. You guys can decide what you want to do with it from that location. And we have another RDA project for the Yakima Nation in Runji Field. That they proposed a piece of art for the Yakima Nation. The structure will be about the size of our sitting area at this point. It's somewhat of a I have not seen it, just been described. I met Noah and a member from the RDA down at the park. It will be a large sculpture. There will be sitting areas within the sculpture. the Yakima Nation would love to come in and do sort of a presentation of what this means to them and why they chose the location. That it is a part of their historical gathering grounds is this area. And they know multiple areas around here, so if that's something you're interested in, they'd love to come in and do a presentation. But this is sort of the area that they have asked if it would work, and if you look at the X, that is the very back between the kids' play area and basically the climbing poles on that back far area, where there's virtually nothing.
So all the way back on
All the way back to the, basically the coal mine trail, except where the grass is, stop it in the grass. And then this is the view from that area, and that's sort of why they chose it. They like the perspective of being able to sit back there and look at the whole overview of the park. They don't want it in the way of the park of any events. They want it off to the back corner, if that was possible, where they could look and people could sit and enjoy events, but sit within their art and their culture. And so that was the location they asked if that was something that we'd be looking to look into. And so I am presenting that location to them as well. So input on that
Reach
also.
out to Noah and.
Yeah, I would be more than happy to reach out to Noah and have him do a presentation on it.
They still don't have a mock-up on the art, do they?
No, he was gonna, I asked if he could send me the CAD file or anything for it, and he said it was so large, he'd have to bring me a zip file, and so I said, you don't need to do that. I think the best would probably be to let them come in and give a presentation to that area, with what why they'd like to do that there, and give us maybe, by that point, they could give us a hand sketch or something of that.
Yeah.
But it was very interesting, and they were excited about it if we allowed it to happen, and I think it was a good location. There's nothing in that area. Maybe there's something else in another part of history of the area to that area. So,
Jeff, do you wanna? Is there some way you could CC me on those emails so I could be there? Because there's power and there's that sewer too, so
Yep.
we have to make adjustments on how close
Yep.
the creek so we don't put
absolutely,
over the sewer line.
absolutely. So that's the area that we were discussing at Runji, and they asked me if I'd bring it in to present it. And that's it.
Thanks, Jeff.
A concern that was brought up from a parent about the slide at the play structure. I know there was supposed to be like a yearly, and again, I'm not holding you to it, so don't take it that way, but there's supposed to be a yearly maintenance, like tighten screws and checking bolts on the play structure. And the slide I heard is only being held up by 2 bolts currently. It's pretty. It seems like it's going to fall off at any time. They don't let their kids slide there currently, so I said I'd bring that up. So we could just do a maintenance on that one, or an all-around bolt check, and then if I know that it's flooding again on the airplane thing, the airplane joyride. You guys don't know what I'm talking about. Well played there. If we can try to figure out how to drain that. We tried and it didn't work, and we could try again just to get it. Not a huge concern, but as a parent concern, it's annoying in your shoes. But
no, well, I know because of the else, Jim did do like kind of it was like early last spring. You know, and then we only did it once, but usually, realistically, it should almost be once a month on stuff like that. So, but yeah, we'll take a look at that slide for sure and see what we can do with that water.
Thank you.
And then we don't really have the money to replace the horse.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna probably try to cover that up better. But
okay. How much does the horse cost?
A brand new one's like $5,000.
Yeah, we're fine. Yeah,
it's the outdated because the spring's different on the old one.
Yeah.
So I don't really want to pull that, but I don't know. Maybe I can talk to RDA about it.
Okay.
You never know.
Where's Suncadia Community Development Group?
Is that who paid for the?
Or even Rotary does grants for parks too.
They're looking for projects.
Rotary gives grants for parks as well. They do a yearly.
Brenda knows the Suncadia people.
I was gonna say, let Brenda handle that.
Call Jim.
I'm already
Do
working
nothing
with them on
with
something.
Just add this to the
I don't think I should add the list, right?
No, they really are. They're looking for projects. We're working on cemetery projects with them right now. I mean, they're dying to get. They
Well,
want
I'm
really
already
help.
in the middle of working with them on the moving project, trying to get movers, and it's a little steep. So we've got to negotiate a little bit.
They jumped in on the irrigation, so probably just so you know, they want to support that also for some
cemetery.
Yep, for some community enhancement funds for that also, besides the funding we've already raised.
Okay.
So
And I did, I mean, well, and then in the budget, depending how it is with the snow removal, but I did budget like $4,000 more for more bark. Cause really we're not at like our
Yeah.
correct level for,
Yeah.
so. I think that at least if we get like 50 more yards and just get it around that play structure, cause that's, you know,
Yeah.
kind of the most important part right there. The rest of it, I mean, too bad it wasn't so big.
Yeah. But just to get that cushion underneath.
Yeah, like by the slider, the tall spots, if some kid did jump up there and jump off, or
Yeah.
you know.
My son. Any update with the sidewalk repair? And
Oh, for base camp?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we sent the contract to the contractor and we're just waiting for them to return it.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and then I just told them too that if they can't get it done in the window before Memorial Day, then we need to push it past Memorial Day so they're not out there Memorial Day
Past Labor Day.
weekend. Or, no, it would be Memorial Day.
After Memorial?
Yeah, well, either they need to get it done before Memorial Day or when after, so they're not out there working that
During,
Memorial Day weekend.
I
Yeah.
got you.
Yeah.
Did we identify who's holding the fundings, if, from the tax lodging funding to the
Ooh, I gotta follow up
$20,000
with-
cog that was sort of in flux?
I don't know, I'll follow up with them.
Because those
Shelley
are
to find out.
probably, those actually pay it, so, those are probably important as the contract moves, we actually know where that funding is coming from and it's actually there.
So just, and speaking of that window, and this might not be important enough, if the farmer's market gets permitted, which we're assuming that first date is June 12th.
Right.
So that gives it about a month window in there.
It doesn't sound like it's gonna take that long, it's
Okay.
just that, I don't know if they have the pieces already poured that they're gonna stick in there, so it would just be a matter of timing on their side, and I just didn't wanna end up in the middle of the weekend for Memorial Day weekend.
Oh, it's definitely, yeah.
Cause it is gonna require some closure
I
there, yeah,
guarantee it's gonna
so,
happen.
Let's
Yeah.
not
Oh,
worry
yeah.
about that.
so if they can't, he knows that, so they'll schedule accordingly, so we're not in the middle of a.
It's what it is, we gotta get it done, it's the way
Yeah.
it goes, if it's a couple weekends, it's a couple weekends, I'm sorry, but.
Well, and it might be, but, yeah, we
Yeah,
will,
it's
we'll
been
get
way
it
too
done.
long to not have that sidewalk fixed.
I hopefully
Yeah.
long before Labor Day, I hope Labor Day.
Let's not even thank Labor Day, I mean, we would have failed if we have to wait that long.
That's the tentative first weekend of this June 12th.
June 12th. Yep.
Is that Father's Day again?
Right
around there?
Right around there,
Oh, yeah.
June 12th to September, I think so.
Yeah.
Mid-June to mid-September.
Father's Day.
Got nine vendors have applied.
So bringing up Memorial Day, and that just kind of reminded me of the one is, I brought it up earlier in the year, and I'm gonna bring it up again because I think it should be dealt with, is, and I'm glad to see that the Roslyn Inn has been dealt with, but, and I'm not talking about the house that unfortunately there was a casualty, but there's two places, there's the house right over here that is hopefully gonna be cleaned up right on 903, and then also the old Harper's building. Is there anything that the city can do to move that along?
Letters.
Well, we can, yes. The Harper's building actually just turned in a preliminary site analysis, so I think that's gonna fix itself here very shortly. So
Okay.
they're gonna move forward with their permitting and reconstruct it.
Okay.
So that one's gonna get fixed either way, but, hopefully, anyway. The other ones, some of them have gotten letters. So, I mean, the next thing would be to you keep writing the letters according to our code, and then we would end up in court with them, so.
If we're writing letters, that's all that I really care. I don't want to put more.
Well, and not all of them, I won't say all of them, but
Okay.
the problem is we don't get response to the letters, and then, so, yeah, I mean, we can be a little more conscientious of that, though, for
But
sure.
we've been currently active, so that's all I
We've
really.
talked with all of them, I'll say
Yeah.
that, yeah.
Cool. Thank you.
May 11th, anybody going to a wildland tabletop fire?
I have it in my
This is-
calendar, but yeah,
yeah.
my work
It's
schedule is
pretty
not gonna-
important, I'll be there, obviously.
Yeah.
Chief will probably be there, but it's very
It's all
important.
day, right?
What is it?
for public
What is it?
officials. This is a tabletop exercise put on by Darren, who's Chief Deputy of Emergency Management. Tabletop exercise where we're gonna figure out when that fire happens between us and Ronald and rolls on down this highway and jumps into Suncadia and then leapfrogs into Cleella, how we are gonna get our citizens out. Plus all the people above the fire at the lake camping on a 3-day weekend, on the 5th of July weekend. So it's pretty important that we have representation there for somebody. Probably, I will be doing something when that happens, and it won't be with the city. I'll be on something else. It'd be nice to have somebody from the city. Corey will be, Chief Ray will be doing something with the city, but will probably be called away, which will need a city leader needing to know what's going on.
And when and where is that?
It's May 11th.
Location to be determined.
Yeah, we haven't.
Oh, they haven't determined.
No, he said he'd send another email out and don't respond to
Can
the
you
email.
have him add us to that? I don't think anybody here actually got
Yeah,
it.
all council members were on the email, I looked
I
at
got
it.
it too.
You got it?
I can forward.
But no time set.
8:30 in the
They
morning
had it at the
8:30
Putnam
to
Center before.
8:30
to 1400.
Yeah.
Sarah and I went to it last time.
1400?
Yeah,
Yeah,
he did, but TBD.
I've got my last large concrete pour. I put it on my calendar, but today I found out I have a 200-yard concrete pour I'm doing, so I'm out for the 11th.
We'll get
Otherwise,
some-
I'd love to.
Yeah,
I'd love to be there. I'd like to get a couple representation. I think it'd be great to have several people.
We'll get some.
Shelley's on vacation.
Where's it at?
Like she said last year.
It's, we don't
Sarah and I
know,
will stay.
don't know where it's
It's a
going to be
Wednesday,
yet.
yeah.
We could all
May
go.
May 11th.
May 11th.
It's a
Yeah.
Wednesday. 8:30.
8:30
Fun, actually. And where? It's like the most
Yeah.
significant fire.
Oh, they're not.
It was Putnam Center.
I wanted to go.
We died last
Yeah,
time.
so you just need
burned
someone
out,
from the
but-
city to go.
That's fun.
A couple people did,
Yeah.
It'd be nice to have a couple
Sarah
people.
and
Yeah.
Michelle went last year, but elected, I think.
If my schedule changes, I'll definitely be there, but I can't wait for that.
Yeah, yeah.
That is.
The last pour,
Yeah, that was pretty interesting.
about
Roslyn
200
went down
yards
to the last
yesterday and
one, so-
200 yards left, so.
Scarier than you wanted to.
That's what happened in the mock?
Yeah, Sarah and I burned up in Roslyn during the fire.
Oh, that's right.
You're
That's right.
Oh, no, you sure want to go?
I mean, not really, but they weren't able, I mean, there was a significant loss to the city of Roslyn last time.
You're good now, you got a suppression system.
Yeah, we
To
do
the
have
city hall.
workers now.
Whoa.
Maybe Jimmy will.
Not anymore, this is breaking your mind, so.
Anyway, anything else? I'll make a motion to adjourn tonight's
All
meeting.
in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.
Let's do it.